using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. Inner and outer world peace through individual strength. And feeling so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without. Welcome back to the Best Feeling Podcast, the Best Feeling Network, your only no nonsense podcast with your host, Herbie. This is Pal Go On. Good morning. Welcome. How are you doing today? Today is Monday, November 21st, 2022, which means, of course, it is a Monday. So here on Pal Go On, it is a Mover Monday. Welcome back. It is a Mover Monday. Every Monday here on Pal Go On is a Mover Monday. Pal Go On here as we are discussing the relationship between ourselves and other topics and feeling so good throughout, using some good old body magic tricks to feel oh so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without. Today, Mover Monday, we will be discussing specifically the relationship between ourselves and our own bodies as we are feeling so great. I hope you're doing wonderful out there. How the heck are you? How the heck are you? I want to know. Whether you are driving in a car, whether you are in a cafe, whether you're in a laboratory, whether you are underwater, whether you're driving right, whether you are lying down on your bed right now, what are you doing right now? How are you? How are you in this simulation of ours that we find ourselves in, that we die? We die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with every breath that you take. Every breath you take. I hope you're doing so well out there in this simulation of ours in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with every breath that we take. We hope that all throughout the podcast, all throughout the show today, you will join us in holding your controller properly today in this simulation which we find ourselves in. How do we hold our controller properly today? How do we hold our controller properly today? How do we hold our controller properly today in this simulation we find ourselves in? Well, we invite you to pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. Just a lit candle, just floating in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out, like a birthday candle. It's just floating in front of your lips, and you're not thinking about inhaling or exhaling necessarily. But we're observing our sense of self as this candle flickers in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out. And we observe our sense of self. What is this sense of self? Oh, that sweet, sweet sense of self. You know, kind of how like when you close your eyes, you can still tell how your body is, what its shape, size, and position that your body is in. Even when you close your eyes, like how when you close your eyes, you might notice that your nose obviously still feels different than your knees. And yet, even with your eyes closed, you can bring your hand to your nose and touch the tip of your nose, even with your eyes closed. How can you do that? Because we have our sense of self, our sense. Kinesthesia. As we are stretching our self-awareness like a muscle today. Wherever you are, whenever thou art, whether you are watching us live here at 9 a.m. on this Mover Monday, November 21st, 2022, 9 a.m., good morning. Or whether you are out there watching us on a video on demand, a VOD, like on YouTube or something, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, you beautiful time traveler, you watching us in a VOD, you future sneaky time traveler. I hope you're taking some time to feel so good from the inside out. As you know, this podcast, Pal Go On here, is a full body experience. So we hope that you will allow us to blend into the symphony of sounds around you in this simulation of ours. I hope you let us blend into the symphony that is your life. Let these sounds blend into the symphony that is your life as we are always staying present. We invite you to always stay present in the moment. Allow us to blend into the symphony of sounds that is all around you and stay present at all times. Of course, even though you're listening to this podcast, allowing all these words to go in one ear, and out the other, as we are staying present Never getting too enveloped into what you're listening to, but allowing it to soft focus and blend, melt into the rest of the life around you, the sounds around you. Is that a bird that we hear outside? Are those some spoons clicking against a coffee cup? Are you around possibly some children and you might hear some toy cars or some yapping around or some good old life happening around you? As we stay present today, all throughout the show, to feel so good from the inside out, to stretch our self-awareness like a muscle today. We invite you to hold your controller properly today. Pretend there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. Observe that sense of self. Leave those swallow muscles alone as we observe our sense of self. And how does that feel for you here on the Best Feeling Podcast? Are we remembering to leave our swallowing muscles alone and listen to the front of our shins like they're the speakers or the tuning forks of the life around you? Let us blend into the sounds around you. Is it sunny where you are? Can you hear the sun? Can you hear your son or your daughter or your sister or your brother or your family around you? Where are you right now? Stretch our self-awareness. Stay present, as we know that's the most godlike thing you can be, you godlike creature, you beautiful godlike creature, you, as we are not living in the past, nor being afraid of the future, living in our imagination, but we are staying present, as is the most truthful, as your body cannot be in the past or the future, right? Your body is just here in the present at all times. And so the most truthful thing to be aware of is the body and all of these sounds around you as we blend in, as your body is the canvas that the world splashes onto, and we observe our sense of self to notice how our body reacts to it. I hope you're feeling so well. I hope you're joining us in holding that controller properly today with us. Let's attack this new week. Good morning. Welcome to the new week. It is the week of November 21st, 2022. It is a Mover Monday today. Today we shall be discussing Speak Listen, and I'm so excited to talk about this pattern. What is Speak Listen? Why should we speak listen? And how will we speak listen? Today we will be attacking all of those subjects. These new exciting concepts I'm super excited to share with you, with the entire world, with everybody. I hope you tell all of your friends and all of your families and all of yourselves. I hope you're feeling great out there. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming through. We will be discussing all of those topics today. What is Speak Listen? Why to speak listen? And of course, how to speak listen. Are we going to leave you? Are we going to leave you just high and dry, just listening to us? Or are we going to allow you to interact and be part of this experience? As we know, Palgoan is a full body experience. We shall not leave you high and dry, but we shall be using some good old body magic tricks today to help us feel so good from the inside out, but allow us to blend into where you are right now, whether you are actively listening or whether you're doing some work, whether you are procrastinating or whether you are hard in labor trying to get some stuff done. Thank you for letting us be part of that experience that is your beautiful godlike experience today, as we are making sure to not leave a hole in the shape and size of your soul in society, but rather performing to our optimal to make sure that the shape and size of our soul is allowed to bless the rest of the world. Good morning, wherever you are. I hope you're feeling so great right now. We will be back after this short break to talk about Speak Listen. What is it? Why is it? How is it? We're all observers here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. I really do appreciate you. Shout outs to Felipe. Shout outs to Paige. Shout outs to Lori for the most recent subscribers and for the comments. We will be reading some of those in a little bit. We are fellowshipping here today, guys. As in, we're discovering together. We are all seekers. This podcast is not for everyone, of course, like anything, right? But for those who do find some use out of it, this fellowship is godsend. Godsend. We will be right back after this short break. Thank you so much for joining here on the Best Feeling Podcast, the Best Feeling Network, your only no-nonsense podcast where you get to learn to live with your ears again. I'm your host, Herbie, and we'll be right back after this short break, but only if you're remembering to listen to the front of your shins. Drained? Depressed? Has the chaos of the world got you feeling confused and apathetic? Even gassy? Feeling like nothing gets you out of this funk? When you're feeling lost in the daily grind, left feeling meaningless, don't touch grass, touch the front of your shins. Feel less tired and more inspired with us on the Best Feeling Podcast. Go on. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. Why? For inner and outer world peace through individual strength and feeling so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without. Good morning. Welcome back to the Best Feeling Podcast, the Best Feeling Network, your only no-nonsense podcast with Herbie. This is Go on. Good morning, everyone. This is a Mover Monday. Good morning. I hope you're having a fantastic morning wherever you are, whenever thou art. Today, we shall be talking about speak, listen, the speak, listen pattern. The speak, listen pattern. Hope you're doing well. What is the speak, listen pattern? I'm super excited to talk about it today. What is the speak, listen pattern here on this Mover Monday as we're discussing our relationship between ourselves and our own bodies on the Best Feeling Podcast? What is the speak, listen pattern? A more functional way to integrate with the world. What do you mean, a more functional way to integrate with the world? Talk a lot about worldviews, talk a lot about thought experiments and philosophies. But most philosophies out there, as you search through the web, search through the books, search through the pages, most of them do not affect your daily life. They do not affect or touch how we experience our daily life, which is all very physical. How do you know if you're sad? How do you know depressed? How do you know if you're happy or excited? Well, of course, there's a physical component. So the speak, listen pattern, as everything else in Go on, is addressing more pragmatic approaches, things to help you feel so good daily. So what is a speak, listen pattern? Of course, a more functional way to integrate with the world. Also, a game to interact with the world with. A lot of fun. Gives you something to do. Something to more actively interact with the world. What else is it? A speak, listen pattern. Well, it's also a method. Get this. It's a method to understand music in ways you have not before. It's a way to understand humans and the world that we live in more clearly with. What is speak, listen? A pathway towards balance, communication, and of course, feeling amazing. What is a speak, listen? A pragmatic way to love life. My alarm's going off. Oops. Ah! Shut up. You alarm. How are you guys doing today? I hope you like my jacket. It's been pretty cold lately, so I have this like little flannel jacket looking. It's pretty cool. Speak, listen. What is this speak, listen thing? A more functional way to integrate with the world. A game to interact with the world. A method to understand music, humans, and the rest of the world with. A pathway towards balance, communication, and of course, feeling amazing with. Speak, listen is an interactive worldview that allows a pragmatic way to love life instead of fearing death. Two sides of the same coin. We want to love life, not just fear death, right? As we see in society right now, we live in a very death-fearing society. Our main motivation is very death-fearing. No wonder the sex addiction is such the sex addiction epidemic is such a large force right now. Also the substance abuse epidemic, the depression epidemic, all resulting from this death-fearing worldview that we have right now. Why do we go to substances? Why do we go to sex addiction? Why do we go to laziness? Why is there a depression epidemic right now? If not for this death-fearing mentality in which our main motivation is simply to escape pain or escape the fear of death, as opposed to living free as we want to be on Pal feeling so authentic and loving life. A motivation much more closer to the human nature, although a little bit more difficult to see as it requires a little bit of strength on our part to love life at every turn, every corner, instead of simply fearing death. Would we rather be motivated to simply avoid danger, or would we rather be motivated by seeking new and everlasting pleasures of life, loving life, although it may be stressful at times? What is the speak, listen pattern? I'm excited to introduce or reintroduce you to the speak, listen pattern. The speak, listen, speak, listen pattern. Wherever you are, whenever thou art. I hope you remember to hold this controller properly today in the simulation in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with a breath. We invite you and challenge you. I challenge you to pretend there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out as we observe our sense of self. Speak, listen. Speak, listen. Speak, listen. Speak, listen. Speak, listen, speak, listen. A more functional way to integrate with the world, a game to interact with the world. How could it be all these things? What is the speak, listen pattern? The speak, listen pattern exists all around us since the beginning of time, like the call and response or the question and answer pattern that exists everywhere. You've heard call and response, right? In music, you hear call and response. There's a call and response, or the question and answer pattern that we notice all throughout life, even in a conversation. We're not always speak. We're not always listen. Or is that really a conversation that is being had? Even in speeches and lectures, you will see a common pattern, a speak, listen pattern. You will hear a question and answer pattern. In conversations, in lectures, you will hear a question and answer pattern. Why? Well, isn't it natural during these lectures for them to consider the audience that you're speaking to? You're going to give a question and you're going to give an answer, as we know that this is a pattern that causes the human attention to stay focused. Also, it acknowledges that you're speaking to someone as there is a question and an answer. Throughout lectures, you'll hear sometimes as they're speaking or lecturing about a topic, eventually they'll ask a question. How do you feel about this topic? Does it make sense to you? Have you ever heard this topic before? If you're talking about physics, have you ever noticed how gravity is 32 miles per hour going downwards towards the Earth? It's a little bit more of an engagement. It's an acknowledgement of the nature of a conversation in which you are speaking to something. Everything we do, even when you're speaking to ourselves, you are using a question and answer format. It's a pattern that we see represented in the universe, the same way that we see yin and yang, the same way that we see order and chaos. We see a question and answer pattern. Even when speaking to the self, even when moving your body, there is a question and answer pattern, right? When we move our arm, depending on how much energy we have, or if we have worked our body out very rigorously recently, we'll notice even there a question and answer pattern, even within your own body. After a hard day of working out, let's say you were doing arms, you'll be like, hey, I want to raise my arm. And most times, raising your arm is no effort at all. You ask the question, can I raise my arm? And you get the answer. Heck yes, let's raise that arm, and it raises. But if there's no energy to expend, or if your body is unable to do so, you can ask the question, can I raise my arm? And sometimes your body will fail you. If you've been working out heavily recently, or if you don't even have an arm or something, you can still send the question to your own body. Please, can I raise my arm? Most times throughout your life, your answer will be a positive, affirmative, yes, here, let me raise that arm for you. Other times throughout your life, depending on how much fatigue your body's experiencing, your answer will be no. Here, raise my arm. And the answer will be no, we cannot. Or maybe if you're reaching the end of your set when you were doing reps at the gym and you want to go into a muscle exhaustion. What is that muscle exhaustion if not a question of moving this body part of yours, and the answer of no, we do not have the ability to do so right now. Even within our own bodies, our conversations with our own bodies to function, to coordinate with itself, we see a question and answer pattern. If you try to raise an arm that has been decapitated, or perhaps if you, in your imagination, you're like, I want to use my third arm, you can ask the question, but your body will respond with a no. But simply still, throughout the world, we will see a question and answer pattern. And so we see a speak, listen pattern as well. Speaking out to the world, listening to its response. Speaking our ideas to the world, and then listening to how the world responds to it. Speaking to the outside world, listening to the response that it receives, that we receive. Speaking to your own body, how does my body feel? Listening to its response. Do I have a stomach ache? You listen to its response. Every request that you make of your body is a speak, listen pattern. Every request you make to the outside world or your inside world is a question and answer, a call and response, a yin and yang, chaos and order. You might be like, how does chaos and order fit into this, Herbie? Well, you might have the chaos of not knowing of whether or not your body will move, and then you have the order that is brought to your mind, body, spirit, soul, your experience. You'll have the answer. You'll have the order brought into your body of, yes, we cannot move this, or no, we cannot move this. You have the chaos of not knowing, but you're going to request if you can move this body part, and then you'll have the order of finding out if it actually does. You listen to your body. Our sense of self, as we're remembering to leave our swallowing muscles alone, as we discussed last week on last week's Mover Monday. And what's so amazing, the reason why we're so excited about this, is this pattern even exists in one of the body's main functions. As we see chaos and order, as we see call and response, or the question and answer pattern, and of course, our favorite, our speak, listen pattern, we also see this represented like yin and yang in our own body. What is that? Exhale and inhale. Exhale and inhale. The main function of our body to keep life itself going, a pattern that even exists in our body as exhale and inhale, is the alternating pattern that gives birth to life itself. Speak, listen, represented as exhale, inhale in our own body. As we exhale, oftentimes mixing that with the vibration of our vocal cords to literally exhale and speak something to the world. And then we inhale the world into us, listen to the world into us. As we notice, speak is an outward facing from our consciousness. It's an outward direction action, whereas listening is the inward action of receiving. Same way we exhale and air, we inhale air. We exhale our own experience out to the world, and then we inhale what the world has to give to us. An alternating pattern that gives birth to life itself, as life itself rolls forward, functions, due to not just an exhale, not just exhale. If you exhale forever and you never inhale, you will die every 5 minutes unless that timer is reset with a breath, because you can exhale, 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 but you must also inhale. It is the alternating of those two that gives birth to life, not the responsibility of any one of those alone, of course. What is this pattern of speak, listen, if not something that the world desperately needs again? Needs a revisiting, needs a conversation about again. Why should you speak, listen? Why should you speak, listen? What the heck is speak, listening? If not exhaling and inhaling and respecting the job, the role, and the power of both. The constant rhythm of the alternating between speak and listen. The constant rhythm between alternating between exhaling and inhaling. Question and answer. Call and response. The alternating pattern that gives life to life itself. The experience of life itself is birthed from the pattern of alternating between exhaling and inhaling. And so we notice something about the exhale and inhale pattern as it's represented also in the speak, listen pattern. Like in our conversations, we shall speak and then listen. We shall speak and then listen. Is this something new? Have we gone throughout our whole lives never speaking or never listening? Of course we've spoken. Of course you've listened. But the speak-listen pattern begins to emerge as we allow an equal rhythm of both. An equal rhythm of both. As we know, especially from last week, we know that our breathing pipe exists in front of our swallow pipe. But we can think about it as when we speak, the forward half of our speaking of our windpipe, the forward half, the front half of our windpipe, we can think about it as opening up when we are having the intention of speaking. However, the back portion, the back half of the breathing pipe shares some of the space, or rather the swallowing pipe exists right behind the breathing pipe. And we could think about it as the speaking intention, the awareness of speaking, the intention of speaking opens up the front half of the breathing pipe, whereas the listen portion, the listening awareness, opens up the back half of the breathing pipe. And so if you're speak, and you do not have an equal rhythm of listen to break up the pattern of speak, we are not creating a holistic and whole opening of that breathing pipe. You can think about it like that. It's a little bit more in depth than that, but a good way to think about it is if the front half of your breathing pipe, which exists in front of your swallow pipe, as we know, if the front half of your breathing pipe only opens when you have the intention of speaking or calling or exhaling or asking a question, well, the back half begins to open up and loosen up when we have the intention of listening or responding or answering. And so, in order to get a beautiful idea of breathing or feeling relaxed or feeling at peace, we want to make sure that that breathing pipe is opened up very comfortably. The front portion and the back portion. And how do we do that? Not by speak, and then listen. Or listen, and then speak a little bit. But rather, we're always living, so we always want that breathing pipe to be nice and round and large. And how do we do so? By making sure that there is an equal amount of space, an equal rhythm between speaking and listening, speaking and listening, speaking and listening. Not necessarily speaking actually, or listening actually, but being aware of the intention of speaking and then listening, and then speaking and then listening. It just so happens that our body's awareness of speaking or listening opens up different parts of the bodies. And if we have a balanced or harmonious rhythm between the two, we can begin to move forward in the way that we breathe and the way that we feel at peace, the same way that balance brings the ability for a wheel to continue to move forward. If a wheel is not balanced, it will no longer move forward. It will either fall to the left or the right. So you don't want to speak, and allow this wheel to get keeled over and fall over to the left. You don't want to listen too much without the even responsibility of having speak in that rhythm, or the wheel will fall to the right. No, we want our wheels to go forward. We want our breathing to move forward naturally and constantly and reliably, not by always exhaling, not by always inhaling, but by having a reliable rhythm between exhale and inhale, having a reliable rhythm between speaking and listening. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how to actually apply this into your life, into your listening to music, into your listening to yourself, into speaking to yourself, into integrating with art, into integrating with yourself. We'll talk a little bit more about how to actually integrate this speak-listen pattern in a full body way, a full body experience, like everything it is on Palgo On. I hope that some of this is making sense for you. As we are remembering that we see all the call and response, all the question and answer patterns represented in music, in speeches, and conversations. Even in our own body, we see that same pattern. As we exhale, we speak. And then we inhale, we listen. we find out that not only does it have a positive rhythm in terms of how we interact with the world, but a positive rhythm in our own body's ability to open up its breathing pipe in order to stay still in the moment, which means that you can integrate with the moment, which means that you will not be being led by fear, but rather in observance. You'll be able to observe the world in a more authentic and perfect way as we are balancing our breathing the same way we would balance a wheel. And that we have a constant rhythm of speak, listen, of inhale, exhale, which the alternating pattern is what creates the stillness, which is what creates the authenticity, the peace, the happiness, the joy, the good feelings. It is a constant alternating pattern, and neither just the speak or just the listen. It's neither just the inhale, it's neither just the exhale, and it's neither just the inhale that creates our life, but the pattern of alternating between the two. How do we apply that even better to our body to feel so good from the inside out? We'll be talking about that very shortly. We'll be talking about it with some examples, with some music, baby. We'll be right back after this short break. And in the last portion of the show today, we shall be really applying it. We'll be doing some body magic just to feel so good, to send you off into the new week. I hope you're feeling so great wherever the heck you are, whether you were lying down or whether you're at a cafe, whether you're working, whether you're at leisure. I really do appreciate you being here and allowing us to melt into the symphony of sounds around you, always staying present while also enriching your spirit, your soul, feeling so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without. This is the Best Feeling Podcast and the Best Feeling Network, your only no-nonsense podcast with your host, Herbie. We'll be back right after this short break to begin applying the speak-listen pattern, not just the outside world, but to your own body. Why? It feels so good from the inside out. We'll be right back after this short break, you beautiful time traveler, you. That claim they're going to be boosting your mental capabilities, your physical performance, your behaviors in life. Tried them and then felt motivated yet slightly confused and cautious. I mean, are the effects even real or are they a placebo? Are you achieving what you think you are achieving or is it imagination? Do you have all this energy now or is that imagination too? Be done with placebos. Be done with uncertainty. Isn't it so draining to be uncertain? You can't even begin to gain confidence in what you're doing. How about some actionable specific advice instead? Take this gummy, feel the front of your shins. Bam! That one's free. Take Padawan with you wherever you go, whenever you go, and feel so good from the inside out. Some actionable, specific advice instead. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. Why? For inner and outer world peace through individual strength, feeling so good from the inside out. Better than your morning would feel without. Welcome back to the Best Feeling Podcast, the Best Feeling Network. Your only no nonsense podcast with your host Herbie. This is Padawan. So we've brought about the evidence that we need to remind ourselves that the speak-listen pattern indeed is something that's been with us since the beginning of time. It's chaos and order, inhale, exhale. Or chaos and order, exhale, inhale. Call and response, question and answer. We brought about the evidence that we need to see that this speak-listen pattern, similar to the exhale-inhale pattern that brings about life itself, that allows us to live this life itself. The speak-listen pattern is something not new, but something very familiar. Something that more like we lost connection to, or that we've lost awareness of, and that we're ready to get back to. The world desperately needs to get back to. Why does the world desperately need to get back to this? As we've discussed, we have seen the evidence that it is all around us, but maybe not paid attention to as much. Maybe that's why the world is so confusing. Maybe that's why the world desperately needs this conversation about speak, listen, speak, listen. Once more. Why? We might be noticing in the world today, have you noticed how everyone seems to be in their own echo chamber? Anything anybody wants to think or believe, they no longer need to receive any kind of feedback or backlash from it, yet we all still feel like we're not really communicating. Everyone feels right now, as you can find any study, any information, any enclave, any community online that will justify or enable the experience that you believe that you are having. We have a bunch of speak in the world right now. Not very much listen when you think about it. We have a lot of people projecting what they want onto the outside world, what they believe to be true. And we have not as much listen, as in not as much listen to how the world actually feels about it, especially as we are living increasingly into these bubbles, these little thought bubbles where we have communities to justify whatever we want to believe. There's always a study. There's always a community. There's always some online information that can back up anything you say, no matter how ridiculous it is these days. With the birth, or with the advent of the internet as it is right now, the culmination of all these last couple years, especially after these last few years where we've all been forced to lock down thanks to government. The government, as we should not be seeing them as gods, but rather other flawed human beings just as we are. We have this situation right now in which most people are connecting majorly through the internet. And so you never have to be denied anything that you're saying. You can believe whatever you want. There's always something to justify, no matter how off the wall, no matter how dangerous, no matter how helpful. There's always something to justify what you're speaking. We are living currently in a post-information world. Post-information world where the information itself is not checked. Post-information world where information doesn't really... where we live in a post-info world where the information itself is no longer validated or trusted. You can't trust the information that you're getting because you can always find something to justify any kind of thought pattern or any kind of belief anyone might have. So there isn't very much listen, right? Not much listen, as listen can be dangerous. You might want to speak something to the outside world and you might not be ready to hear what they have to say back. You might speak your beliefs onto the world and we no longer have to be afraid of any kind of resistance, no matter how good that resistance might be. You might speak to the outside world that killing yourself is a great thing. And if we're living in a society where you do not have to seek validation of the common sense around you, but you can seek the validation of your idea on the internet with other similarly minded people, but also similarly unlistening people. We're living in a post-information era where there is always some kind of information you can cite, no matter how dubious their research is, that might support your claim. And so we're living in this world where we're like, oh my God, TikTok and YouTube is just dominating people with these crazy ideas, and we might not necessarily agree with all of them. And yet everyone feels empowered to speak all of their ideas because there's no longer responsibility of listening to any of the feedback, as you might just get blocked. You could speak anything out to the outside world and just block out any kind of response back. No need to listen anymore. But is that a formula for success, or is that a formula for death? as everyone feels empowered now to speak whatever it is without the consequences of listen, even if the consequences of listening to what people have to say might bring about more common sense, might bring about more success in your life, might bring about more peace in your life. As we're all just venting our pain to the world, we're finding no relief. Why is it that we're finding no relief? Possibly because we're living in a speak world dominated by people's ego, dominated by what people want to believe dominated by what people want to believe and say to the world without actually having a conversation with the world. Why might we want to have a conversation? Well, as we know, exhale and inhale, the alternation of that pattern is what brings about the ability to have life itself. The alternating between exhaling and inhaling, that rhythm, that pattern, the alternating is what brings about the ability for life to exist itself. Is there any reason why this world is so lacking of life right now? The culture that we live in is so lacking of any remarkable life, no exuberance, no good energy. We're noticing a large scale wave of lack of energy, a lack of life loving. We're noticing an epidemic of death fearing. Why? Possibly because we are not living with this speak listen pattern. We are not observing or respecting a speak listen pattern the same way that we would respect an exhale, inhale pattern, one that literally creates life itself. Same way that call and response will create music, or a question and answer will create a conversation. Similarly, a speak listen pattern will create a life loving attitude in life. Why? Because how can you love a life in which you have not observed? Yet we're speaking so many requests and speaking so many ideas and speaking our pain to the world. No wonder we are not feeling a life return. The same way exhale, inhale will create life. No wonder we are all experiencing no life in return. We're experiencing a very death-fearing culture, a very death-idolizing culture. I know it's like death-fearing, but we kind of idolize it at the same time. You hear constantly right now, I hate life. I'm going to kill myself. Even in like a kind of like a funny way, that's our common attitude these days is life sucks. Life sucks. Well, how do we employ this speak listen pattern in order to feel so great and so good from the inside out? How do we create this life-loving attitude from within ourselves as we fellowship? And of course, this is a fellowship here on Padawan, right? This is not a leadership, but rather a fellowship as we are all observing life from our own inside body, and we're sharing and discussing ways to experience it better, to love life better. We're discovering together as you comment, subscribe, participate in the conversation, which we appreciate. As we know, this podcast and life itself is for seekers, right? You cannot convince nobody of nothing, but unless they are ready, if they're seeking it, they will find something of value. So we are discussing together as we fellowship together this life that we are living together, being in awe of the greatness. How do we apply this speak listen pattern the same way that we would apply an exhale inhale pattern? Well, we've discussed already that the intention of speaking opens up the front of the breathing pipe, and the intention of listening opens up the back of the breathing pipe, both of them together creating this nice round circular breathing pipe for you to breathe so comfortably in as we speak life out and then listen to life as it comes back in, as we exhale life out and then inhale life back in. Let's try some today. Let's try some good old body magic tricks as we pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. As we're holding our controller properly today in this simulation of ours in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with a breath that you take. How does that feel for you to pretend there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out as we observe our sense of self, as in your sweet sense of self, as in how the front of your shins feels different than the back of your calves? How do you know that? Your sense of self, as in the right eye feels different than the left eye, using your sense of self. Or with your eyes closed, you can notice even still that your left eye is again different than your right eye in shape, size, and position. We speak, listen, speak, listen. Does that mean you must speak when the speak happens? Or does that mean you must listen every time you think about listening? Or rather, is this the expectation of the body in order to open up that breathing pipe? Are we speaking out into the outside world by speaking our intention of what we want to observe, speaking to our own body, darting our eyes left and right as we speak to ourselves of where we want to look. But are we making sure to balance that with the listen of actually listening to what it is that we're speaking, that we're looking at? Are we speak, listen patterning? The neutral rhythm that the human consciousness operates on as we speak to open up the front of the throat. And then we have the intention of listening to open up the back of the throat. Is it the speaking, literal speaking? Or is it the literal listening after listening, like the same way that you'd wait for a kick in a song and then a snare in a song as they alternate in pattern? Is it the case that we must have the intention of speaking and then listening and then speaking and then listening exactly on those? Or is it that we alternate with those intentions throughout life to create a rhythm the same way that the rhythm of or the same way that the balance would allow a wheel to roll forward? Do we speak and then listen and then speak and then listen in a way that might chop up our sentences like that? Or are we simply becoming aware of the fact that our body operates on this natural rhythm of speak, listen, exhale, inhale, alternating between those to create a balance in the same way that a balancing wheel needs to not be too much to the left, not too much to the right, and if done properly, will cause the wheel to move forward. Is that what we're doing with our body possibly? We invite and challenge you to join us today as we we explore this speak, listen on this Mover Monday. Speak, listen, a pattern that might simply be about balancing this rhythm. But what is so good about balance? Well, we know that from a point of balance allows the most freedom of movement. Why is balance so important? Why is it important to have a neutral rhythm of speak, listen, to open up our throats, to open up our breathing pipe? This balance and alternation between the two, like exhale, inhale, might cause this balance that allows us to move the same way that balance allows a wheel to move. So might we move further and better throughout life should we balance a speak, listen? How might we see and employ, how might we use this speak, listen pattern? Well, you might notice in music there's a speak, listen pattern. You might notice even in art there's a speak, listen pattern. As in, you might speak your drawings, you might speak the intention or exert your attention on, you might exert your intention onto the outside world the same way you might draw a line onto a paper. But then also you must listen, as in you must observe the way that line actually came out, and then you observe the entire pattern if that's the actual line you wanted to draw. And then you speak or you exert your intention outwardly the same way a speak would. Just for the case of the way we're communicating this. You might speak your intention of how you want to draw this line, but then what does the artist do right after that? Sit back and observe to see how that line actually came out and how it meshes with the rest of the art and whether or not that was the correct line to speak. Similarly, in a dance, you might speak as in you might move your body in accordance to this song, but should you be speak, moving your body, boom, boom, if you're looking at the screen, moving your body, speak, you might be speaking your intention of how you want to move to the outside world, but should you not be listening to the music that you're speaking to, you will then be just exerting your ego onto this performance and no longer integrating with the music as you've kind of drawn away from integrating with the music as you're simply speaking too much and not having this constant rhythm, which would allow which would allow a performance that's full of life as you're integrating with the moment. You're not integrating with the moment if you're constantly speaking without listening. All you're doing is imposing your will onto the music, which would not be graceful looking at all and ends up looking very, forced, rigid, looking very overly aggressive. And you can feel as you watch a dancer, you can feel that they're slipping further and further away from musicality. They're slipping further and further away from actually integrating with the music in a way that looks like it's actually listening to the music. But what is a dance if not dancing to the music? Yes, you might dance, you might speak, and that's your movement that you are choosing to participate in, the movement that you're choosing to move, the movement that you're choosing to go along with the music only means so much if you're constantly trying to impose your will of how you want to move without having a constant rhythm of listening to the music that you're trying to move with. You end up dancing over the music. You end up dancing away from the music. But should you have a constant rhythm of speak, listen, the same way you have a constant rhythm of exhale, inhale, do we not create a more balanced and integrated into the movement, into the moment approach of responding to the music? And is that not what dancing or singing is, if not agreeing and having a conversation with the music itself? So let's try this in this fellowship. Let's try this today. Before we go, let's leave you with a couple nice body magic tricks. And when we come back from this short break, we're going to be using this speak, listen pattern. I'm super excited for you to join me. We'll be revisiting this in the future. This is not a concept that is one and done, but rather, just like our lives, we will be continuing this as it becomes more of a natural way of integrating with the moment, integrating with life. We'll be right back after this short break to actually execute some of this speak, listen. Thank you for letting us blend into the symphony of life that is all around you. I hope you're holding your controller properly with us today in this simulation of ours in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with every speak, listen, or every breath that you take. I hope you're pretending there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out and observing your sense of self. We'll be right back after this short break to actually use the speak, listen with some music for an example. It's going to feel so freaking good. Be right back after this short break, I guess. Let's do this. I'll be right back. This is the Best Feeling Podcast, Best Feeling Network. You only know nonsense podcast with Herbie here on Padawan. We have a recommended book reading list. If you feel like you have a hard time understanding yourself at this stage in your life, check out No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert A. Glover. It's an aggressive title, but a very meaningful book when it comes to understanding the self, both men and women, masculinity and femininity. So you'll see it first in yourself, then throughout the world, so it brings peace through understanding. Do you suffer from a mental illness that you want to actually do something about? Or do you just want to be able to change your patterns and behaviors in life? Check out that book with the girl with holding her hand up. It's an amazing book. The Body's Map of Consciousness, Volume 1, Movement, by Lansing, Barrett, Gresham, and Julie J. Nichols. Do you have body or neck aches throughout the day or throughout the night? And gone to chiropractors and just been frustrated with not being able to get a permanent fix? Check out the purple book, The Structures of Movement and Breathing, by Conable, and Anatomy of the Voice by Theodore Dimon for a more detailed look there, that book on the left, and take charge in getting your relief back. All these books are highly recommended and pretty short and just freaking phenomenal books. Beyond impressive, incredible, ridiculous, awesome, stupendous, prodigious. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. Why? For inner and outer world peace, through individual strength, feeling so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without. Best Feeling Podcast and the Best Feeling Network. Really no nonsense podcast with Herbie here on Padawan. I'm your host, Herbie. That's what I was saying. Welcome back. We're going to be stretching our self-awareness like a muscle, but also adding speak, listen pattern to our lives. Why? In order to order ourselves some balance in our lives so that we can move forward throughout life consistently, reliably, and peacefully, and life loving the same way a wheel would take you places. How does a wheel take you so far in life? How do wheels spin and then take us so far in life? Balance, baby. All right, let's use a speak-listen pattern. Let's talk about the speak-listen pattern. Let's actually apply it real quick. Let's listen to some music. So the way that we'd be talking about it in reality is like, you think about like music, right? What do you hear in music all the time? You hear like 1, 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4, right? We got that. You kind of know that that's kind of how music is done, right? But what is a 1? What is a 2? What is a 3? What is a 4 when it comes to your body? We know these intellectually, but the body itself has nothing to grasp, no relationship to this 1, 2, 3, 4, the same way that exhale and inhale have a clear relationship to the way the body functions, the way the body is aware of itself. So as we observe our sense of self, screw this 1, 2, 3, 4. Get rid of this 1, 2, 3, 4 that has barely anything to do with the body. Let's get with the exhale, inhale, and even more functional than exhale, inhale, even more functional. Let's go to speak, listen. Commands or actions that our body is integrated into itself with its awareness. We already understand very full body, like as Padawan is a full body experience. We invite you to No. Guess what? We don't invite you. We challenge you to join us in seeing how this feels for you. We challenge you to join us in seeing how this feels for you as you observe your sense of self and participate in this conversation for this last portion right here as we implore. Is that the right word? We execute the speak-listen pattern. The speak, listen, speak, listen. Speak and listen, which both have very full body kinesthetic understandings of how our body wants to operate when we speak or when we listen. Whereas 1, 2, 3, 4 is like a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. Get the heck out of here. You don't know what you're talking about. The body has no relationship to 1, 2, 3, 4. Not maybe it has a relationship to it when it comes to intellectualism, but when it comes to a full body kinesthetic awareness, our body has more of a relationship to speak, listen. Let's substitute 1, 2, 3, 4 with speak, listen, and observe our sense of self and see if we can't create a stronger balance, a stronger sense of presentness, a stronger sense of integration and awareness in the present moment, especially if we're listening to music, with a stronger relationship to the intentions of our body. The way it's going to be is going to be kind of like this. As an example, it's like speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. So like on the kick drums, which is usually the 1 and the 3 of this 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern of music, usually the kick drum is on the 1 or the 3. And almost always, almost certainly, the snare, the backbeat, the beat that is a response to the call of a kick drum, oftentimes is a snare or a clap, right? It'll be like the call of a kick drum, it'll be like boom, and then the response is like clap. You can think about it like a ball of your like your awareness is being thrown at a wall. It's like you speak this intention of throwing a ball at the wall, and the way you know it hits the wall is because you hear that beat, you hear the sound of it hitting the wall. And so your awareness, your intention, you speak it and throw it at the wall. And then it responds to you by bouncing off the wall and returning your intention back to you. And that's why it's called a backbeat, as it's like you have your beat, which is the kick drum, boom, boom. And then you have a strong backbeat, which could be a strong snare, which kind of gives you this nice call and response back and forth. Boom, clap, boom, clap, boom, clap, boom, clap. There's no physical manifestation that we're aware of that is as strong as our relationship to the world as a speak, listen, or throwing a ball at a wall. There's nothing to represent the 1, 2, 3, 4 in that similar way. But a speak, listen is a clear representation of having the intention of throwing your intention at a wall and then having it return to you, like the same way a conversation would be. You'd throw your statements to them, and then you'd listen to the way they throw the ball back or the way it snaps back at you. Stronger relationship with the speak, listen. A stronger body relationship to the speak, listen than 1, 2, 3, 4 There's a stronger, clearer intention of what's going on in the music over a 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a clear world and like physical reality understanding of a speak, listen. Let's try it again. And just observe our sense of self. See if our body reacts to it, if we're able to feel more in the moment, if we're able to feel our breathing pipe open up in a more relaxed way that's prepared to receive music in the moment as we speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. As we're observing our sense of self, listening to the front of our shins like they're the speakers of the world, we speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. Does that mean you have to speak or listen on specifically the speaks or listens, or no? As that is simply the neutral rhythm in which your body expects. And the music is playing with that expectation, giving you some, taking it away some, kind of giving you some anticipation, creating anticipation by taking it away from your neutral rhythm that we have, which is speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. As the music itself plays with that expectations, either riffing or raffing that rhythm, either landing exactly on the speak to give you what you want, or sometimes being slightly off of that speak to create anticipation because your body wants it. It expects the speak, listen, speak, listen, and we speak and then listen and then speak and then listen and then speak and then listen. You might notice that kick drum lands on that one every time. Speak, listen, speak, listen. Sometimes it misses that speak and then comes back to meet you on that speak later to create some anticipation. The same way you might be like, guess what? We're about to speak, listen right now. You kind of create anticipation in a conversation the same way. Same way music interacts with you. We have this neutral expectation of a speak, listen, speak, listen. Evenly spaced out rhythm, evenly spaced out inhale, exhalation, intention. And the music itself plays with that expectation, sometimes giving you what you want to feel satisfied and feel resolved, sometimes taking it away and missing that rhythm a little bit so that you miss it, and then when it comes back and lands on that beat, it feels so good, feels better because of that anticipation. So we speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. Every speak opens up the front of the throat. Every listen opens up the back, the breathing pipe as we speak. Listen, speak, listen, speak. Listen, speak, listen. Do we have to speak on every speak, listen on every listen, or do we just have that expectation, that rhythm? Same way that rhythm keeps a wheel moving. Same way that exhaling and inhaling keeps our body alive. We speak, listen, speak, listen. Simply having the expectation of speaking and listening, then speaking and listening, speaking and listening, creating an ample amount of room for our bodies to do both of what it always does with music, which is anticipate, receive, anticipate, receive. The same way that we interact with music, as we speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, listen, speak, listen. You can even do it silently. Just having the intention as you slowly become more acutely aware of how it feels in your body and what muscles activate when you speak. Listen, speak, listen. Just listen to the music. As we're remembering to pretend there's a candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out at all times. As we observe our sense of self, as in how your feet obviously feel different from your head, and how even if you close your eyes, you can still touch your nose with either hand, because you have a sense of yourself in 3D space. And we can observe our sense of self as we align with the pattern of speak, listen, even if you're just staying silent. Just like, speak, listen, it's just in your head, you know? You're just like, speak, listen, as you observe your sense of self. As we speaking, listening, speaking always on that first, the intention of speaking always being on that one, that first hit of the beat, the listen always being on the 2 and the 4. We have this alternating rhythm. And it's, of course, the alternation that even alternation of that rhythm that creates a steady flow of the breathing. Not just the speaking, not just the listening, just the same way we don't just exhale, we don't just inhale, but rather have an even rhythm of it, which creates this effortless flow, like a wheel moving forward. You wouldn't want the wheel to jitter like move and then move and then move, but rather the wheel is a constant flow of motion. Same way that our body's in constant flow. If we have a natural exhale, inhale, you're not like exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. No, we have a exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. It's that even rhythm that creates this natural movement forward. The same way music moves you. Notice how we use the word move. It's like, yeah, that music moves me. Do we move best with a jittering pattern, or do we move best with a constant pattern? And the music itself generates this, or plays with this constant pattern, as it sometimes meets you, sometimes gives you something to anticipate. As we speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. If there was a kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, speak, listen, speak, listen. Then it might get too predictable, too boring, and so it plays with that expectations where it'll hit the kick on that speak and then miss the kick on that second speak and then meet you back up on that first speak to create more interesting anticipation for your life, for your experience of music, for your breathing, for your feeling so good from the inside out. We ran a little bit long today, but we really wanted to get you involved in this process. Thank you for participating. One last time as we leave, we're going to do something a little bit different this time as we speak, listen on the way out. We're going to leave you some body magic tricks that feel so good from the inside out. Thank you for joining us here today. As you know, Palgoan is a full body experience. So we hope you will allow us again to melt into the symphony of sounds all around you, never getting away from the present, but allowing us to just be one part of that, one component of that symphony around you as you stay present today. In this simulation of ours in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with every breath that you take. We want to be life-loving, stop death-fearing. We want to love the life that is here. We want to love the music even more than we ever thought we could. How do we do that? Well, we see more of what this music's all about and how it affects us as we speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. Say it with me. As we speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. Even if it's just in your head, say it with me. Speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. We hope you're holding your controller properly by observing your sense of self. Pretending there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. In front of every human being's lips that they're trying to not put out. Leave your swallowing muscles alone. Listen to the front of your shins like they're speakers. And the speakers are bumping. And you have the intention, as you listen, spread some of this sweet, sweet hearing awareness to the front of your shins as it speaks. Listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak. Listen, observe your sense of self and how that rhythm is affecting your body. Does it create a steadiness as we speak? Listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. How does that feel for you? Listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. We hope you enjoyed this podcast today. We hope you enjoyed this show. We know it's not for everyone, but for those who find meaning in it, we know this fellowship, this podcast is God sent, is something that I really wish that I had too. Thank you for discovering along with us and fellowshipping with us as we feel so good from the inside out, discover better ways to integrate with our body, become more body mapped, properly body mapped. I need your support. Comment, subscribe, participate in the conversation. As we are all seekers here. I'm excited for the future here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. Shout out Felipe Mullen. Shout out Paige. Shout out Lori. I did want to read a comment off of our most recent comment. We will be addressing this. We will be addressing this in the future. But Felipe's like, came here looking to learn some sweet hip hop moves. Left feeling the front of my shins. Ain't that so true? I think we had a little bit of that today. If you rewind, but you know what I'm saying. We invite you to rewatch any of these videos. They're all amazing videos. I know. Thank you for being here. I hope that you've been feeling so good from the inside out, staying present, staying aware, letting us blend into the symphony of sounds around you. Whether you're at a cafe, whether you're sleeping, whether you're just waking up, whether it's nighttime, whether it's morning, I want to thank you for being here. As we were using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. Why? For inner and outer world peace through individual strength. Feeling so good from the inside out. This is the Best Feeling Podcast and the Best Feeling Network. Your only no-nonsense podcast with your host, Herbie. This is Pal Go On. We'll see you tomorrow for a True Love Tuesday. Thank you for being here on this Mover Monday. Early in the morning at November 21st, 2022, Mover Monday, we were talking about speak, listen. A more functional way to integrate with the world. A game to interact with the world, as it doesn't come supernaturally, but once it does, it starts to click, right? A method to understand music, humans, and the world more clearly with. A pathway to balance communication and, of course, feeling amazing with. And a pragmatic way to love life. Speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. We'll be talking more about this in the future. Speak. Listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak. Even if it's just your head. Speak, listen, 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 speak.